sort of break it down like this.
Gang hang. Good morning, everyone. We are gang hanging. It is Saturday. My name's Matt Baum.
I'm the internet's Joe Patrick, and I've got the X-Men playing softball on my background.
There we go. And we're here.
I'm ready.
We're here to
talk.
hang with the gang, our listeners, and talk. There's all kinds of nerd news this week. Just roll through it real quick and we can talk about whatever. New trailers for Furiosa, The Penguin, Alien Romulus, Star Wars The Acolyte. We never talked about the Crow trailer. X-Men 97 is live on Disney+. We've got Brevoort X-Men news from the ashes, and the Age of the Apocalypse shit is apparently back on the schedule. We got the question of the week. Whatever you want to talk about, I think we start off with X-Men 97, right? This is probably the biggest thing.
No, we start off with the question of the week.
We don't have to. There's no rules.
That's how we do things on this show.
I'm starting off with X-Men 97 because it's on my brain. I just watched the second episode.
Well, you're the one who suggested we start off with the question of the week, and that lasted all of one episode.
We'll get to the question of the week. So. I just want to get to the big story. Everybody expected me to come on here and trash it. And look, did I love it? No. Is it charming? Yeah. Is it better than the original? Without a doubt. I still can't handle Rogue's voice at all. And it's like, there's no shame on the actress, the voice actress. She's very talented, but she's obviously older. And now she kind of sounds like sexy senior citizen. I'm like,
They're all. She sounds like one of the designing women, right?
Yeah, I kind of can't.
She sounds like a sugar baker.
Yeah. Wolverine. Wolverine.
It just sounds like if only Brian. Like Brian gets it. If only it was. What was her name? What was the main Suzanne Sugarbaker?
Suzanne Julia. If she was Julia Sugarbaker Sass, I'd be up for that.
Oh yeah, I'd be totally down for that.
Not Delta Burke, but the other one. But yeah, I mean, really, any of the Sugarbakers, I'm on board with. But I mean, that's just it, man. It's that they are all older because they insisted on bringing back the original cast, which I think is great.
No, it's great.
They were
in pots.
No, the dark-haired one, the long dark-haired one. Yeah,
that would be. I think that was Julia Sugarbaker. Yeah,
that's Julia. It was Julia Sugarbaker.
I wish she sounded like the comically gay black dude.
Anybody? I guess the people have spoken. We're talking about designing women for the rest of the show.
I love it. Designing women, designing women cast. Let's do it.
I miss the guy whose name I forget, but he played Hollywood on Mannequin.
Yeah.
Oh God.
The comically gay black dude who has been a comically gay character in everything he's in, and he's not gay.
Well, I don't think he was comically gay on Designing Women.
Oh yeah, he was.
Just like,
are you kidding me?
He was gay coded. Anthony, he was gay coded. Right?
Yeah.
He's like Niles, right? Niles from Frasier, not gay but gay coded.
Oh, sure, but like Hollywood.
Okay,
Mannequin.
X-Men 97. Let's stay on task here.
You're literally the only one here that wants to talk about comics, Matt.
X-Men 97. Let's get into it.
I want to talk about X-Men 97.
Brian,
can we say something?
Yeah. Brian, please.
Yes.
So I have obviously criticized it because the original show is, again, I craved it to live. When I was 11, it was like my favorite thing, and I was so psyched that it existed. And it's hard to watch because it is not great. It's
trash.
very. We're selling something to children instead of being like a well-crafted thing. But I think, and the new one is obviously done with affection for the old one. The animation upgrade is pretty massive, which is good. I mean, at the minimum, it should be. I did mention this on the Discord. The pacing's a little weird where like Bishop disappears for most of each episode.
I couldn't decide if Bishop was even in this. I was like, so I watched the first one last night late and like not sober. And then this morning I watched the second one sober and I was like, wait a minute, was Bishop in this? Like, hold on.
Like, it's like they are around and I think it's just, it's probably going to take some time to get like everything going. But that also happened on the old one, like in season 4, where I kind of picked up season 4 because I've seen the other ones a million times and I tried to watch all the way up to the the finale, and I couldn't.
Horrendous.
I couldn't physically make it. It's so bad. But like Jean like isn't on the show. Like she's just like not there, and it's like. But then she'll show up, and it's like, oh, like I thought she was dead from like the Dark Phoenix. So it's like, no, she came back, and she's just not on it.
It's like they literally
around,
lost like animation cells while they were making it or something. Like they had them all laid out, and somebody sneezed,
she's just not
and they're like, "Pick those up, you idiot!" And then they picked and they forgot a few, and made the cartoon.
So for the Gambit and Rogue of it, this is my hot take about them as a couple. The affection that quote unquote readers have for that couple is 100% because of the cartoon. Because they are the only ones that seem to care, other than Logan and his weird like gene obsession. They're the only two that seem to care about each other. Mm-hmm. There's the episode with the they did like the acolytes and Fabian, what's his name, and and he's doing he's
Fabian Cortez,
yes.
who is so deliciously awful. But it's Gambit and Wolverine on like asteroid M, and it like crashes, and Rogue shows up, and she doesn't care about anyone else. She's tearing the thing apart. Yeah. She's like, "Where's Remy?" And it's like, oh yeah, she like they are. It's palpable. Like they love each other, and there's so much like flirting, and it's like fun. And then you read like the Rogue and Gambit comics now, and it's like they don't like. It's hollow. Like there's no. It's the cartoon only. Like the cartoon,
definitely.
It's based on those original.
I disagree. Based solely on Mr. and Mrs. X and the Rogue and Gambit miniseries by Kelly Thompson, she made that couple like a real couple.
I think that
I agree with that.
I do kind of see what Brian is saying, though. If you're looking at just the X-Men titles,
yes,
yeah.
The
Gambit and Rogue relationship is just paid lip service,
and you might not even know. You might not even know they were a couple, honestly.
Right.
And the most recent one, I think it was Stephanie Phillips wrote it, and it's like it's got Manifold, and they have to find somebody for Destiny, and it's like
it's tied into the hoopla that was going on.
It's a bad story, and they are like it's basically like, oh, people love them together. It's like, yeah, but you guys, it seems like they don't get why people love them together, and they just like so watching them on the show was like, this is why people love it. This is exactly what the dynamic is.
You don't think it was Anna Paquin that like did it for everybody and just like
oh my god, she wasn't even a good like original Rogue, like it's
she was the worst version of
of any character.
What a terrible adaptation of Rogue.
God, yeah, I liked that Gambit better than I liked that Rogue.
Yeah, the comics relationship, I think, also suffers from the weight of continuity because there's been so much that has happened between them. Between the trial of Gambit, and then
so much build up, so many things, so much drama.
They've broken up and gotten back together so many times. Where this is, I mean, the cartoon has the advantage of this compressed continuity and compressed storyline, where they're still kind of in the beginning of their relationship, even 5 seasons in.
Fair.
Yeah, I just think in the comics they don't. It's never. I mean, and I have to read. I read a little bit of Mr. and Mrs. X when it came out, but it like the trial of Gambit was 25 years ago, 27 years ago. Like,
dude.
X-Men 350, Uncanny X-Men 350.
It was apparently almost 350 issues ago.
It's far enough ago now that the Jay and Miles have covered it on Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men.
Yeah,
I've lived like an entire lifetime since that comic book came out. Like I was I don't think I was 23 when that comic came out, and now I'm in my mid 40s.
So I had a theory. I had an X-Men 350 theory back in the day when they were doing the trial of Gambit, where I was like, I'm telling you,
this is the dumbest
they're
thing
like,
you've
we
ever
know
thought,
it's tied to like the Morlock Massacre, and I'm like, I'm telling you right now, Harpoon, the Marauder, who has the same powers as Gambit, that was Gambit with a bad haircut. Faking the whole Eskimo thing and everything.
And Harpoon is an Eskimo.
He was Gambit faking it, man.
Right. Matt, I'm on board for most of your stuff. That is the craziest theory you have.
No, I get it. Look, I didn't believe it. I wanted it.
I wish that we'd had a show and the nerd bets back then, because
I did not believe.
They gave him so much shit.
I did not honestly believe that was going to happen. I wanted it to be true, and I told people at the comic shop that's what happened in the comic, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
don't listen to him backpedal. He believed it to be true.
I did not believe it to be true.
That theory makes the third Summers brother plausible.
I mean, as it turned out, that was true later, but
yeah.
It was supposed to be Gambit. Gambit was originally the third Summers brother.
He was, and then it was Adam X, the Extreme.
Yeah,
right. They couldn't decide who the third Summers brother was, and so Ed Brubaker just had to invent one.
Then we got Vulcan. Yeah,
Jesus,
totally. Okay, back to X-Men '97. The voice acting, right? So it's cool they brought everybody back. But the guy that does Wolverine
he made him Canadian again.
He made him Canadian again.
He's very Canadian.
And I like Canadian. But he's arguably much older. And Wolverine kind of sounds like somebody's mad grandpa. And I kept waiting for him to like spout off about immigrants or something. I was like, "Whoa, God!" He's like, "What is all that crap? Damn it, Gene!"
To me, they sounded exactly the same. Like, I know that they're older.
He sounded way older. Put it side by side. That dude, and it's not that dude's fault. He's an old man now. I mean, whatever.
I did read that they actually gave him voice direction, not to sound older. He naturally sounds that way, but they did want to emphasize the Canadianness. So maybe it's somewhere in between that we're getting this voice right now that we're getting.
Yeah, because kids, a bunch of episodes of Letterkenny.
Yeah, nobody knew about Canada back then. You know, nobody. It was just a rumor.
No, it was there. It was just
back in,
it was cool to ignore Canada back then, and now we're like, man, I wish I lived in Canada.
Yeah. Right. Now everybody wants to embrace Canada, right?
So do you guys remember when? I'm sorry. Do you guys remember when the X-Men showed up on? It was like a Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that was literally my first exposure.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to the X-Men, and for years I thought Thunderbird's actual power was to turn into a bear.
It was Australian in that.
In Pride of the X-Men, he was Australian.
No, that was Pride of the X-Men.
I don't know if was Wolverine in. I don't think Wolverine was in the Spider-Man episode.
He wasn't in the Amazing.
No, you're thinking about the '90s. He's talking about the original, like when they crossed over, like in the original Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends.
No, it was Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends.
And Thunderbird, it was Thunderbird for sure, Cyclops, but I don't remember if Wolverine was there or not. But I remember
Wolverine having. Yeah.
Go ahead. Whoever.
I was going to say, I remember Wolverine having a distinctly Australian accent, and I don't remember. I didn't watch the Spider-Man in the cartoon in the '90s, though. That was the thing. So I don't remember that.
So yeah, that was Pride of the X-Men.
You're thinking right, Frank, but there was also a pilot for a show that never manifested or that never materialized, and it was called Pride of the X-Men, and they released it on home video.
Yep.
And that one, like, infamously, Wolverine is literally Australian.
Yeah.
He is an Australian man.
There's no question. No, 1,000%.
Comically Australian.
Matt and I just watched it with Dave DeMarco. This was the first time I'd ever laid eyes on it. I was like, I can't believe they got the character of Wolverine so completely wrong.
Oh yeah.
Oh, don't forget the theme song, the badass theme song.
Oh, that show.
The theme song's pretty good.
Still the best X-Men theme song.
Whether or not that theme song was better than the X-Men 92 theme song, I say no. The X-Men 92 theme song
Get out of
deep
here.
in my soul.
Get out of here. They actually wrote a song for that one. It had lyrics and everything.
Except for it was stolen from a Norwegian cop show.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, and it's just like some dude recreating it on a keyboard, you know, like whatever. No, the X-Men and Amazing Spidey was Iceman, Storm, Cyclops, and Sprite showed up. It was little kids.
Yeah, so Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde is Sprite. So right, because I remember that it was like the whole deal was like they were coming they needed to talk to Iceman for something because Iceman used to be an
He was
X-Man.
one of the X-Men. Right.
Yeah.
I remember.
I think he still was because he talked about it. Iceman was always like, well, when I'm, if the X-Men need me, I'm over there on Tuesdays or whatever.
I don't remember. I mean, this was 40 years ago, so I don't remember them ever saying the words X-Men outside of that episode, but maybe.
I think that was the episode.
I wouldn't be surprised if, because Spider-Man is his amazing friends, that's not a team. Those are buddies. They're buddies.
They're amazing friends. Yeah.
They're just hanging out, and sometimes they fight crime.
They're roommates. Yeah,
right.
They're literally.
In my head canon, the X-Men were coming to Iceman for accounting advice.
There you go.
Definitely.
He is a certified CPA. Sorry, that's wrong. He is a CPA.
Did you file this right?
Certified public accountant. There's a little piece of trivia to put it in your back pocket if you ever need it.
So how do we
also actually wanted to make sure that the Blackbird was tax deductible? That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that apartment they had.
Yeah,
they had to rent out at least 2 floors
with the coffee table that rotates into computer shit.
Wasn't that Aunt May's house?
Yes, that was Aunt May's house. They lived in Aunt May's house.
Where did they put it all?
All 3 of them lived in Aunt May's house. They moved it in while she was sleeping or one day.
They sent Aunt May to Boca Raton for a month, and they got some contractors in there to put in all their crime busting equipment.
So who else watched X-Men 97? What do we think? I'm not look, did I love it? No. Is it better? Yeah, definitely better.
I watched X-Men 97. I loved it. I thought the first 2 episodes
were shocked,
excellent.
Joe. I thought you would have been way pickier about this.
I understand. I embrace the cheese of it. They're going for a style. They're matching the tone.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it also has this kind of modern edge to it. The animation is incredible. I love what they're doing with Magneto, and that's the fight sequences in the first episode.
Cyclops, holy
the
crap.
action scenes.
That is the coolest I've ever seen Cyclops.
That was the coolest.
That might be the coolest thing I've seen in a cartoon, a superhero cartoon ever.
You need to watch more anime, friend.
The Storm thing at the end of the first
superhero
episode,
cartoon, Matt.
There's plenty of superhero anime. There's one of the most famous ones is My Hero Academia, all about superheroes.
American superheroes, Matt.
Oh,
God damn it.
Sorry, I forgot about the racist part. My bad.
Go ahead, JD.
Yeah, JD, what were you saying?
Yeah.
That storm sequence up against the Sentinels at the end of the first episode was.
That was cool. Yeah.
On the forecast. Oh my god, that was so great. And, so no spoiler, no further spoilers because something very major happens in the second episode.
Right. But
episode 2 was the trial of Magneto, and it was loaded with imagery from X-Men 200. From Uncanny X-Men 200 with the John Romita Jr. art and the famous cover with Magneto in the purple outfit.
Give me purple Magneto
at the Hague
with the big M.
Oh my god,
that is my Max.
He looks kick ass with those bicep high gloves.
Oh yeah, love it, like a Southern Belle.
What I was going to say about the storm sequence though is I just read. I'm getting caught up on X-Men Red. In the Fall of X storyline, and I just saw Storm take out a kaiju with a hailstone the size of a skyscraper.
Yeah,
and somehow this sequence in the cartoon was cooler.
I mean, so I'm gonna spoil this a little bit, just because it's there's a big fight scene versus Sentinels. Everybody knows it. It's in the trailer. So Storm shows up, and you understand the show. This episode of the show has probably done a better job than any other piece of Storm adaptation at showing how powerful she is.
Whoa, buddy. You tell me when Halle Berry electrocutes Toad, you weren't like, holy shit.
We all know what happens when a Toad gets struck by lightning, man. It's the same thing that
happens to everything else.
Oh, yeah. Storm shows up and yeah, it does. And there's lightning crackling down around her and following her in her wake, literally turning the sand to glass as she walks. It's one of the most amazing intros to a character I've ever seen in a cartoon. It's incredible.
Glass tornado.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then she turns the glass, and then the glass shatters, and she turns it into a tornado. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so great.
But yeah.
So anyway, watch X-Men 97. It's very good.
I will say this too, but one last thing. I am also amused by the amount of people who are claiming that, they didn't know the X-Men were woke, especially at the end of that second episode.
Yeah.
Seriously.
People are just like, when did they become so woke? I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're
not paying
attention. I understand that the media literacy of like 10 to 12-year-olds, 8 to 12-year-olds in 1992 is probably not great. But even that cartoon in the 90s was woke.
It was heavy-handed, like huge.
Like, it was an allegory for the worst shreds of humanity being the villain.
Right.
Like, there was never
all kinds of apartheid themes and shit, like big time.
Yeah, I mean, Beast goes to jail for political reasons.
Yes.
And then remember they try to break him out and he's like, nope, got to hang out.
Yeah, he's like, no, I need to make my statement.
And then
it's due process and
And then in episode 2 of this show, the Friends of Humanity perform a January 6th insurrection.
Yes.
It's basically the same thing that's happening, which I found funny in Helldivers, where they actually think like the Helldivers are the heroes, even though you're playing as. I was like, you're clearly not. But, it's a little too close for home.
Yeah. People are so mad that like, Gambit, why is he looking so gay? With his haircut and his crop top. It's like, did you watch that show?
That first scene in the kitchen when they show him in the crop
frying up
top.
beignets in his pink crop top.
I laughed out loud.
So a friend of mine sent me a TikTok.
Kiss a boy.
It was like
the thing in that scene is the idea that the X-Men's entire dinner is a plate full of beignets.
Yeah, right.
So a friend of mine sent me.
You gotta fuel the mutant furnace burning inside you somehow, JD.
A buddy of mine sent me this TikTok of this guy going, and it's just.
I love that. That's the
wonderful.
video I saw that made me think of it.
This guy just going berserk, and he's like, people are saying they can't believe how gay Gambit looks. He's like, I want to show you something. This is a Gambit toy from the 90s. He's wearing blue thigh-high boots and a pink shirt.
And fingerless gloves.
There's never a time when fingerless gloves were straight.
Have a girlfriend he could never touch, or else he'll die. Was fantastic.
A girlfriend he could never touch.
Yeah.
A girlfriend he could never touch or he
He's
dies.
like, do you know what happens if he touches his girlfriend?
Icon.
He dies.
Yeah.
There's so many good points. It was great.
That's perfect. Okay, the Morph thing. Wasn't everybody pissed about Morph because they said they made Morph look kind of like gender dysmorphic? I didn't see that at all.
Well, it's more that they're referring to Morph as they them.
Oh, that's
because
it.
Morph is Morph.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought they
Morph
designed
looks exactly the same. Morph looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything
for the most part.
Yeah.
No, nobody. Listen. Actually, I will say this. I do like because you saw Morph kind of like infrequently in the first series. It becomes very clear why Morph is considered Wolverine's like best friend. Because Morph is the only one who can literally just like kind of like I won't say like everyone's afraid of him, but he will poke the bear. That is Wolverine, even if he's he's the only one on the team who seems capable of doing that.
Yeah, Mark Stern just posted X-Men.
He looks even gayer in the first appearance.
Yes, X-Men 266. Look,
that's like double the pink.
That cover. He's wearing pink pajamas, a headband, and a trench coat. This is a leather daddy, okay? That is what I see 100%.
Here. And a thong.
Yeah, and a thong. A thong
very,
over
like,
his pink
briefs.
Pajamas.
Bikini briefs.
Gambit rules.
Yeah.
It's like, you do you, Gambit. No judgment, but you're gay, dude.
I hope that the showrunners of X-Men 97 make Gambit kiss a boy before the end of the first season.
Oh,
I just want to see what will happen.
No, that scene in the kitchen, though, in the half shirt where he's making beignets, I just went, woo! Hey, now.
It's incredible.
Man, right there. Yeah.
There's also like there is, I would say, a fairly inevitable chance that there's a Jean Grey plot development that's going to happen that I'm very, very excited for. And I think it's going to make Matt Baum's head twist off into space.
You're talking about the end of the second episode?
Oh, did you watch the second episode?
Yeah. I watched it this morning.
Yeah. All right, I didn't know you. I thought you'd only watched the first episode.
No, I watched one not sober, and then I watched one sober, and and I found not sober. I enjoy it a lot more. I'll say that. Sober, I was like, it's fun. It's perfectly fine. It's fun. I hope if a bunch of people watch it, and Marvel goes, great, there's money in animation here, open the floodgates, and like, give me a kick-ass Fantastic Four cartoon. Give me a rad Avengers cartoon, but like straight up set in the Marvel U, telling a story, like right out of the comics, animate it. Give me a season,
We had that and it didn't last. Unfortunately, it was called Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
That was amazing.
And it was essentially what if Bruce Timm made the Avengers cartoon?
Yeah, I didn't love it.
Yeah,
I thought
it was really good.
It was fine.
Really?
Are you kidding me? It's incredible.
I thought it was fine.
Good.
I thought it was fine. I would rather they drill down a little more. And like we were talking about, I don't love the DC adaptations. They're fun. I'll watch them. But I will say for them, at least they're kind of going for it a little more, as opposed to just borrowing bits and pieces. Like there was stuff about the Avengers cartoon that I did like. It was well done. It looked good. But like I want just do the Terminus saga or something stupid, Do Atlantis Attacks.
They did stuff like that. They did. They adapted storylines.
But they do it all in a half an hour. Is what I'm saying.
X-Men cartoon
Stretch it out.
Storyline.
Stretch it out. Tell the story. Animate it.
It got canceled. I don't know what to tell you.
They were planning to do at least one more season, so
right.
I mean, they did Kree Skrull War. I'm talking about if they did Korvac because they did.
They did Korvac, but it was like
crazy shit. Yeah.
Maybe it was like 1.5 episodes.
There was like Kang stuff going on. There was
wasn't there like
and I lost it. Didn't they do Super Adaptoid or like Mad Thinker and stuff?
Secret Invasion.
They did Secret Invasion
as well. There's all type of crazy shit.
Yeah. They just did it too fast. That's my only problem. Like, let it breathe. Do a whole season of that.
They're making Secret Invasion. They're making cartoons for children with the attention span of gnats.
Well, not anymore. You think X-Men 97 is for kids? X-Men 97 is for old
X-Men 97 is
dude.
not for kids. It's for. I know that. I'm talking about this Avengers cartoon. Yeah, that was on like Disney.
That
XD
was for kids
or whatever, or Fox Kids. It was. It was literally made for children.
Yes.
So
and let me tell you,
the experience, the storytelling experience, is going to be different.
Damon, go ahead.
And they still got away with decent amount of stuff. That's what I was saying.
Sure,
yes, they did. I totally agree.
So.
Sure.
I want to see Wolverine.
What'd you say, Frank?
Wolverine and the X-Men. I was going to say. I want to see the final episode or the final season of Wolverine and the X-Men because they were doing this Apocalypse thing. They ended the season. They ended the show with like Age of Apocalypse, and they never went back and did the show because it got canceled.
That was quite the cliffhanger.
Yeah, I'd love to see the end of that. That was getting good.
Yeah,
by the way, I want to say this also.
Say what now?
Yes, right. No, that was Evolution actually.
X-Men Evolution?
X-Men Evolution.
No.
X-Men Evolution was the one before Wolverine and the X-Men, where they were school-age kids.
Maybe.
Okay.
Right. Well, I will say this though, and this is just my hot take. I love X-Men '92, and it's still one of my favorite cartoons. And maybe it's because of just when I grew up with it, it kind of got me into X-Men comics. But
I get it.
X-Men Evolution probably was one of the better written shows of that era. Surprisingly, like as the season
it had a lot of fans. I was too old when it came out, and it was like, we're gonna make the X-Men, all the X-Men it's gonna be when they're in high school, and it's like,
Yeah,
but that's not really what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I'm okay with like alternate reality stuff and all that, and that's the way I guess I was viewing it at the time, and it was fine for what it was. Like there was a lot of some cool stuff that happened in that show, but yeah, I digress.
They had it was X-Men. It was Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yes, that was after
where they Wolverine and the X-Men is where they introduced. No.
X-23, yeah.
It was X-Men Evolution where they introduced X-23. It has to be.
Yeah, they did that. They did. It was X-23, and they introduced a few other New Mutants who, like, what's the lava girl from New Mutants again?
Magma.
Yeah, she was in it as well.
Oh, I love Magma.
That stuff was written by Kyle Yost.
Yeah,
or Chris
Kyle,
Chris Yost and Craig
Kyle and Chris Yost. Yeah.
Yep.
And right, yeah, and they then they came and rescued X-23 from Joe Quesada, and knocked off that teenage hooker cutter bullshit.
My God.
That he came up with.
But Tom Brevoort's bringing it back. So
no, just because it's called NYX doesn't mean it's the same thing. Hey, segue from the ashes. We got our first look at, or at least our first information about the titles coming from the Ashes initiative, the post-Krakoan X-Men relaunch. Matt Baum, can you drop the link or the graphic of the little roadmap that they put out in the chat?
Yeah.
I'll say this. Reading the descriptions, it's given me huge Australia era vibes.
Yes, very much.
Which is my favorite era of X-Men.
So just to set it up real quick, the titles we know are happening right off the bat are X-Men, adjectiveless X-Men, and the return of Uncanny X-Men, and a new title called The Exceptional X-Men, which is essentially New Mutants.
God, that name is dumb. It's so dumb.
I mean, but they wanted them all to be called X-Men, and I understand why.
The Exceptional X-Men.
Well, so the idea is that each book sort of represents a major theme that the X-Men have been about during their 60-year history. Exceptional X-Men is obviously the school. It's Kitty and Emma training a group of New Mutants. Adjectiveless X-Men is, I believe, the Cyclops book.
Yes.
Which is Cyclops, Beast, Psylocke, Juggernaut, Magneto, Magic.
I don't recognize.
And that's going to be the superhero book. Or they're fighting for a world that hates and fears them. That's that book. And then Uncanny X-Men is Gail Simone, and that is Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue. I can't see who else is in the graphic.
Jubilee! Don't forget Jubilee!
Jubilee. Sure. Hey, look, Matt, some people like Jubilee.
I hate
Jubilee.
I like Jubilee.
I like Jubilee too.
Can't stand it.
So it's Eve Ewing and Carmen Carnero. Black Panther's Eve Ewing and artist Carmen Carnero doing Exceptional X-Men. It is Gail Simone and David Marquez on Uncanny X-Men, and Jed McKay and Ryan Stegman on X-Men. So that's a pretty great lineup of creators.
Yeah.
That character is Mark posted a screen capture of the image. It is that is Oya, who was the young recruit, the very young recruit that Jason Aaron introduced in Wolverine and the X-Men.
Right.
She's, I think she's Wakandan, maybe?
I believe she is Wakandan.
And
she's got elemental powers.
She can control, she can control fire and ice. And she went through a whole thing where she got wrapped up in some pretty bad stuff, and she ended up in the pit on Krakoa. And now she at this point in time, she's part of the group, the Exiles, which is
Frank. That's Magneto in the chair. That's Magneto.
That's Magneto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Professor M is what they're calling him. I don't know if that's what they'll call him in the book, but I love that.
I kind of love it.
So yeah,
I kind of love it.
Oya, and she has a new name. I think it's Temper is the new name. And yeah, so.
And then we got 3 new jerks.
That's a good
in
assortment of characters.
X-Men.
3 new books.
I like. Okay, here's the thing with bringing on a new generation of X kids. We do this every other year and then promptly never see them ever again. I'm kind of over it.
Sure.
There's so many younger X people that we could develop and actually do something with, Whatever. Mammo Max, where'd that guy go? I loved that guy.
Okay, this is gonna be a controversial thought, and I can't believe that I'm the one saying it because normally I would agree with you fully. But consider New X-Men by Craig Kyle and Chris Yost, and prior to that it was a revival of New Mutants by Christina Strain, I think.
I don't even remember. It was
anyway,
forgettable.
Yeah, Nunzio Di Filippo.
Nunzio Di Filippo, yeah.
Yeah.
And so those books, which introduced an entire new generation of mutants that we are very familiar with, like Surge and Armor and Hellion. Glob Herman was Grant Morrison, but yeah.
Okay.
But
Rock Slide,
Mammo
Max,
Elixir. Yeah. Stop bringing up Mammo Max.
I love Mammo Max.
Chuck Austin.
I love him.
Anyway, those books were 20 years ago.
I know.
They're not the new X-Men anymore.
Well, we keep calling the new mutants the new mutants. They're still them, you know? I mean, like, come on. We never developed them more, though. It's right. We just keep adding more to the pile. And
now, again, a counterpoint. I think that those characters did get a lot of development.
Some,
just maybe not in books that you read.
A couple did.
I think that's exactly it. There were how many issues of those Kyle Yost books are there that didn't make it's a blip. You know, like nobody. Yeah. They weren't significant. They weren't significant X books. So there's so many stories, but who would know? You know, it's they're
true.
They could not be more D-list than any.
Right.
It's like some rando on Wrestle League International.
I'm gonna quote like a wrestling term. You can't push everybody.
No, that's
what
true.
I mean by that is that
it's true.
Yeah, everybody can't get the spotlight at the same time.
It's true.
In a book where everybody's the star, nobody's the star.
And I agree. But I guess what I keep saying is we keep introducing new young generations of kids that we know are just like, okay, see ya. All right, a year from now, I won't know any of your names. You know?
I think the bigger problem isn't so much the fact that they've introduced new mutants time and time again, and many of them are forgotten. It's the sidekick problem, where if you keep introducing the quote unquote next generation of mutants, at some point you're going to have to address that one of the generations is old.
Yeah.
And they're never going to do that. Never, ever.
No.
And so we're going to get a contemporary, we're going to get a brand new class of new mutants or exceptional X-Men, and they're going to have to be the exact same age as the characters that they introduced 20 years ago, or else Cyclops is 50, and that'll never happen.
Sure. Okay, let's talk about who's missing from this picture. Like big names.
JD, go ahead.
Missing from this picture.
JD has a thought. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because the other thing with that is the reason why we always have these new classes is because you can't ever let the kids graduate.
Right.
Because they're never going to replace.
That's why the new mutants.
You're never going to have an X team of, we had Cannibal on the X-Men for a short period of time. We had Armor on the X-Men for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Elixir was a major player in Astonishing X-Men and several titles after that. So the students have been in the books. I mean, Wolverine and the X-Men, the Jason Aaron run had a lot of those young kids in there.
Yeah,
the Cuckoos, for example. They don't go away. It's just the fact that
they don't graduate
can't
either.
Their own book, for one, and two, they will never become X-Men.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's baked into the concept, right? Like the X-Men aren't going to just stop training new mutants that they find just because they've already got a batch.
No, I don't disagree with that.
They're always going to go out and get new students.
I just can't help but be skeptical and go, do I need to learn your name? Like, do we really need to learn the new intern's name? They're going to be here for 2 weeks.
Yes, Brian, it is Edie from Generation Hope. But her code name was like Oya, O-Y-A.
So looking at this image,
anyway,
no Colossus, no Iceman, no Angel. Like there's some big names missing from these books, and I'm wondering what.
Well, there's also a bunch of other books that
I know we're getting a Storm book.
No details of.
Yeah, we're getting a Storm book. We're getting a Phoenix book.
X-Force.
Yeah. So I assume I really hope Colossus is not still doing this X-Force bullshit. I really hope. I want him out of there.
It is my fondest wish that the new X-Force title is not about a kill squad.
That would be neat.
Be fine if X-Force went back to being Cannonball's team.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's what happens to the young X-Men, the young mutant trainees when they don't get called up to the main
fine with that
X-Men team.
Fine with that. Yes,
they're X-Force.
Yeah,
and it's this team like. Go ahead, JD.
Or I was just going to say, or to a counterpoint, if you still need them to be, based on the name, if you still need them to be somewhat more violent and or militaristic, make them the protest group.
Sure.
Or the resistance group.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And like X Factor.
Well, and that's what X-Force was, right?
X Factor's your governmental group. We're the diplomats. We go and we deal with the UN. We show up and speak in front of Congress. We're X Factor. We're those faces, you know? I mean.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about what X-Force was before the whole Death Squad idea, they were always outlaws on the run, running afoul of somebody, like Cannibal, like, especially when Cable was around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, X-Force was, and they could be like you said, like the protest team or the revolutionary team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like, I'm not down with what the X-Men are doing. We're doing our own thing. And maybe they don't get along. I don't know. Be fine with that, too.
Tradition, we can make X Factor the government book again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would love that. Go back to X Factor.
I mean,
there are diplomats.
I want to stop short of saying that I kind of hope they just revert all these books back to the status quo they had when we were kids. But there is also something to be said for why those have stuck with us. And I don't think it's just because it's what we read when we were children.
No, it's
because
a good idea.
Matt's favorite X Factor is the book where they put on blue jumpsuits and pretend to hunt mutants.
Loved it.
And I'm here to tell you that comic book was terrible.
I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying I loved it.
We read X Factor #1 for the show. It's awful.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah,
and
get out of here. I love it.
I'm sure it got better. I'm sure it got better.
It got so good.
X Factor wasn't good until Madrox joined the team.
Okay, settle down.
When I will say this, when Peter David took over and made it the government team, and it was Strong Guy and Havoc.
Loved it.
That's right. Polaris.
That was the last time we did anything cool with Havoc. That was literally the last time Havoc did anything cool.
He's too busy wearing his weird lingerie.
Yeah.
his male negligee, and living with the Goblin Queen.
Boinking getting boinked by the Goblin Queen.
I will say Havoc's book during Krakoa, the first run of Krakoa books, that Hellions book.
That was good.
Hellions was so good.
It was good.
That was really interesting.
But it also started with Havoc doing something terrible.
There.
That book was written by Matt's nemesis Zeb Wells, so it just goes to show
not
you.
My nemesis. I just don't like him on Spider-Man. Okay, Zeb Wells wrote a lot of stuff I like. Kidding. I just don't like his Spider-Man. All right, we've screened about X-Men this whole time.
Mark,
we want to talk about some trailers.
Listen, Mark, I'm gonna kink shame that outfit. That is an awful outfit to put Havoc in.
It's like, look, do your thing. That's fine, and if you feel comfortable in it, whatever. But I don't need to see pictures of that shit, dude. You know, hey, come on.
So yeah, I'm just to kind of wrap up before we move on to the next thing. I'm very interested. They said in the next couple of weeks we'll get more announcements. Like there's a list of rumors came out. I think from Bleeding Cool, I'm sure. And the first batch of rumors ended up being proven almost completely wrong, which gave Brian and I a lot of delight. But I think I've heard stuff like one of the books is going to be a group led by Iceman, which would be great. So I think a lot of these side characters that we might think are missing are going to pop up elsewhere.
Of course.
And I hope that that's the case.
Okay, we got a bunch of trailers that dropped. I am a massive fan of the first 3 Alien movies. Everything else after that can kind of go to hell. The fourth one I still apologize for a little bit until we really get into the Winona Ryder is programmed to be an annoying robot thing, right? But
I will always
visually
point out that
it's gorgeous.
That 3 of the first 4 Alien movies involve killing the alien by sucking it out into space.
Well,
it's literally the same solution in every movie.
The only way you can do it because it's so dangerous. I mean, come on. And we don't even know it died. We know it went into space and froze.
It's just out there.
Yeah. Hey, waiting to warm up.
I mean,
we don't know.
You would think it would die, right? The xenomorphs need to breathe, don't they?
But Romulus looks amazing. And they did this.
It does look amazing.
They did the same 70s trailer, like the original Alien 70s trailer with the in the background and stuff, and the people and the voices and everything. Oh my God, it looks excellent. And
I'm surprised that there wasn't a voiceover like in space.
Right. So this one takes place in between Alien and Aliens. So it's like the story of
really?
Yeah, it's the story of something that happens in between there. And I have no proof. I have no idea if it's true, but if it wipes this Prometheus bullshit off the board, please.
It won't.
God, please get rid of it.
Won't.
Well, Ridley Scott this is not his story. He's produced it. That's it. He has nothing to do with the story or directing it, but
he's involved, which means it's not going to wipe out anything.
I think it kind of has to. It's so bad.
No, it doesn't.
So bad.
Prometheus. Look, you can ignore Prometheus and whatever the second one was called. Oh, Alien Covenant. Hey, Jim.
Ugh.
Hi, buddy. I didn't even realize you were here. You've been so quiet. And just do a story about xenomorphs in space. Like, you don't have to acknowledge the hidden origin of the species as revealed in Prometheus.
Yeah, please don't. God.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Ugh.
Alien 3 does rule. It's got Charles Dutton, first of all, and that guy rules in everything.
Oh, yeah. He's so good. The Preacher.
Man.
Oh, man.
Rock in space? Come on.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited.
And, I think that the movie looks great. But we've seen, one teaser, so we'll see.
Sure.
Who's making this, Matt?
Who's making? I don't know who directed it off the top of my head.
Do you know who's directing it?
Let me see.
I have to look it up. I'm not sure either.
It was somebody new. I didn't recognize the name. Let's see.
Oh, he's in a lot of
Fede Alvarez, isn't it?
Yeah, Fede Alvarez.
Yeah, he did the Evil Dead reboot.
Yeah.
And Don't
Breathe, I think.
Oh, Don't Breathe is great. Don't Breathe is a great movie.
And now he also did the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was just garbage.
Well, yeah. And I know that purists don't necessarily love the Evil Dead remake, but Don't Breathe is legitimately a great thriller.
I'll say this about the Evil Dead remake. It looks very good.
Evil Dead, everyone looked at it, I think.
It's slick as hell.
It was fun for what it was.
It's slick
What
as
were you
hell.
saying, Jim?
It just
I'm sorry.
didn't have the soul.
I'm just saying the 2013 Evil Dead, I think it's got pretty good write-ups, generally.
Yeah, no, I mean, it got well reviewed. My only problem with the 2013 Evil Dead was, it had no soul. Evil Dead is supposed to be, literally Bugs Bunny slapstick horror. And this was just really slick horror.
That was the problem, yeah. People pushed back on the lack of comedy. They weren't happy Bruce wasn't there, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
They made it a traditional, modern horror.
Just movie. And it was really good looking.
Later, I think we're looking back at a sort of modern classic, really.
Yeah. It's slick. I mean, all the movies this guy has made are very slick. Even that Texas Chainsaw Massacre piece of shit. It looks visually very slick, very scary, just not well written at all. He probably didn't write it. I mean,
I enjoyed it. It was a bit
did you?
Bit influencery and woke and all that, but it was great fun.
And I guess that's the thing I need in my Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's you took the trash out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It is one of the trash.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a grindhouse movie.
That's just essentially. It's one of the trashiest movies of all time.
It's an exploitation horror movie,
right? And
the franchise has got no continuity at all.
Well, no.
Yeah, just doing it as a straight horror movie, even a slasher movie, it's not.
Yeah.
Kind of missing the point a little bit, I think.
Okay, on that same subject, the Crow reboot that's coming.
Oh boy. Holy shit, that movie looks terrible.
I am officially kind of excited. Honestly.
No.
Not because I think it's this is going to win Oscars or it's going to be fucking legendary, but they're doing the thing.
It looked worse after.
Please tell me. I saw morbid curiosity, Matt.
Yes, no, absolutely. Morbid curiosity. I've never fully understood. I get that James O'Barr is an important comic creator, and the Crow comic book changed comics. It was truly one of the first goth horror comic books for that kid that was a little too pale wearing a Cure t-shirt in high school. I get it. And I read them and was I guess these are neat, I suppose. But at the same time, it's the movie was terrible. The first movie was terrible. It's it has a special place in our minds because the soundtrack is so goddamn good.
Everything that people love about the first Crow movie is because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, truly.
Soundtrack was good.
Yeah, they look through it for they're looking at it through rose-colored glasses because the soundtrack sells it.
Totally disagree.
Oh no. Descent.
Hold on, we got to totally disagree.
English Descent,
Jim.
As I might expect from our enemies across the pond.
Jim, let's hear it.
We just invented goth and we do it better. That's all it is.
It's true. It's true. No.
You know what? That's
Sandman is a lot better goth. I will say that.
Yeah,
so.
Bauhaus wasn't from Detroit, you guys. I got bad news. You know.
Sorry, I love the Crow movie, and I will admit it's probably not. It probably doesn't hold up as well.
Oh God!
And I probably still think of it fondly just out of nostalgia. But I saw that movie 17 times in the theater.
Look, what?
Whoa!
Okay, well, what?
Yeah.
Now we know who JD was in high school, don't we?
Did you set a world record?
No, I'll bet. You know what? I'll bet JD's not even close to the world record. Like,
I know
the goth nerd that was just like,
I think
this is the only place I feel real. You know,
it's got to be somebody in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
No, I'm talking about the
world
Crow
record
movie,
is
Joe.
involving Star Wars.
I'm talking about people that watch the Crow movie. I'm talking about trench coat kid in a black T-shirt that just sat there all day. Watched it 3 times.
I meant as far as setting a world record. Sorry, we were talking about you.
No. I mean, I don't even think I think I know other people that have seen The Crow more times than me in the theater, but but I also fully admit, it hit me at the right age, and I was, probably a little moody as a teenager.
Of course, that's exactly what it was for. That's what those comics were for too. And okay, so this new one, right? The violence that they couldn't do in the original Crow movie because they didn't have the money, they spend it all on the soundtrack. Mm-hmm. They are doing it here, and it is in the comic. Like, he gets holes blown in him and stuff, and heals. Yeah. And there's aspects of this that kind of look like, what if John Wick got shot more? And I was like,
he gets shot a lot. To be fair,
that's kind of
John
fun.
Wick element to it,
right? And I think Skarsgård makes good decisions. I think they're marketing it poorly, but you kind of have to. You have to go for this demographic now. It's different, So I don't know. I'm kind of morbidly curious to see what we do here. I will say, if Michael Wincott is not in this movie,
no, thank you.
If Michael Wincott doesn't appear in this movie, I'm out. Like, that was the only thing that I loved about the original Crow movie. Michael Wincott's character, so just deliciously evil. He's so good.
I think Michael Wincott is dead.
Was he top dollar?
Yeah, he was the guy. He was the long-haired guy with the voice like this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's not the guy I was thinking of. He's still alive, but it's the other guy. I think it's the guy that shot Brandon Lee out in an accident. He died.
Wincott was just in not too long ago, and he was great.
Michael Wincott is still alive, though.
Yeah.
He's 66 years old.
Oh, he can still make an appearance.
Yeah.
He's vital.
They better get him. He's great.
I've got a friend of mine that actually knows someone who owns the coat from the original Crow movie, and he's got a picture of himself wearing it.
Damn,
Frank, the meme you just posted.
The value immediately plummeted the second he put it up.
Frank, the meme you just posted of Lisa Simpson with the slideshow saying the Crow is just RoboCop for goths. God damn.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that tracks.
100%.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what other trailers did we get this week? We
got Star Wars The Acolyte.
We got a new Furiosa trailer. And the first trailer for Star Wars The Acolyte.
Yes.
Which is set during the High Republic era. The first live action project set during the High Republic.
I'm not high enough to talk
the
about
High
the
Republic. I don't think the High Republic was like only 100 years before, because they're saying this is 100 years before.
I think the High Republic is an era that spanned
thousands of years. Is that what it is?
1,000 years between whatever came before and then the New Republic era.
This is outside my Star Wars expertise. Sorry.
All I was going to say, is this supposed to be the first appearance of the Sith? I think they're also kind of publicizing.
I think they're supposed to be detailing the origins of the Sith, but if it's only 100 years to Frank's point, if it's only 100 years before Phantom Menace, it can't be the first appearance of the Sith because the Sith were around since ancient times, right?
Yep, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's all EU.
There's all this.
That's all expanded universe stuff, and that we all know that's not canon anymore. So
all I know is I'm not going to sit here and listen to these Star Wars babies go, I can't read Dune because it spans too long a time. Guess what? You know, here we are. Here we are, Star
People say
Wars.
that?
100 years in the past. Like, okay, all right.
I can't read Dune because I'm dyslexic and have learning disabilities. But
Fair enough. Fair
that's
enough.
why I listen to it.
I'm not laughing at that, Frank. Other than to say that, like, yeah, it's kind of a dense, complicated read.
Yeah,
It really is. I tried.
I was out.
I read half of it. I read half of the but it took me over a year just to get through half of it. So I got it on audio books on audio, and that's how I read books now.
Okay, Mark Stern asked a question, and I would like to know this too because I don't know. Is this set at the same time as this Darth Plagus shit? Like, are we going to?
I think Darth Plagus. Well,
how about somebody who knows? How about somebody who knows?
Have you ever heard the story of Darth Plagus the Wise?
I think Darth Plagus, from what I understand, now I have a slight understanding of like this era from just being exposed to it all, is that Darth Plagus was like 1,000 years before that even took place. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Darth Plagus is Sidious's. Like,
yeah.
So
like 50 years.
Darth Plagus, according to Wikipedia, Darth Plagus died 32 years before the Battle of Yavin, which means
he was in that era.
We're losing Joe. So once again, Star Wars breaks its
question.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The initial question is yet to be answered, really. So the novels and comics that we've been getting are 200 years before Phantom Menace, but so far they haven't revealed when this show takes place.
Okay.
Some people have said 100. Some people have said 50.
Okay.
So it's like TBD. It does seem like we see like the end of the High Republic based on just like the wardrobe changes.
Fair enough. Yeah, because I'm looking at it and like, look, I'm a tertiary Star Wars fan. I admit it. I prefer adult sci-fi like Star Trek. But anyway, I mean, like looking at it, it looked sort of this cross into prequel stuff and a little bit of modern stuff. And I'm just
the High Republic is kind of designated by all the white and gold, all the Jedi or white and gold robes and lightsabers. And in this, we see like some of that, but then it's mostly kind of. Yeah, we see some of that, but then most of it is like just the brown, like the sequel. They look like sequel trilogy outfits.
Like at the end of, episode 3 where Darth Vader is like, now go into the universe and make everything look like crap. And they're like, yes, sir.
I mean, if this show is about the end of the High Republic, then I can kind of see.
So I would guess.
Mark, what are you mad about, Mark Stern?
Your Darth Plagus thing.
I'm so happy right now. It's a golden age for nerds.
What did I say that made you say, damn it,
It was the Darth Plagus thing you were doing.
Because I said I'm not leaning into like a meme here. I wasn't trying to like set up the. Have you heard the legend of Darth Plagus the Wise?
The tragedy. I had to look it up to be sure, but it's like the tragedy of Darth Plagus the Wise. He doesn't even talk like that. I don't know why I'm doing the voice. He just talks like Sheev. But
it's better than I can do. But my point was
Sheevy baby.
But yeah, I mean, if Darth Plagus the Wise, so the whole deal with him was he figured out a way to extend his life, right?
Sure.
And that was how Shiv seduced Anakin into coming over to the dark side. So if that's the case, then yeah, we're looking at a Sith Lord that could easily be 200 years old, which means he might very well be the big bad in the Acolyte, right?
Right. I mean, they've got to. They've dropped his name.
If this thing is set, even if it's 50 years before episode 1, then Darth Plagus is still alive. Like, so I would be stunned if we didn't see Darth Plagus.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
He's probably your big bad.
And we already know that like Disney's like just scared to death of like straying too far away from the Anakin Skywalker saga.
Oh, yeah. They're gonna give us at least some names we recognize. Oh, in fact, I'd be willing to place a bet that we see Sheev Palpatine by the end of the thing. A young Sheev Palpatine.
Ugh. Yeah,
we'll definitely meet Yoda.
Yoda's going to be here, right?
Yoda.
100%.
He's alive. Yeah.
They have to.
I hope we meet Yaddle. Is what I'm hoping for. I want more.
Keep your sick Yaddle bullshit to yourself.
Who Grogu's mother is.
Oh shit!
Don't Yodas like spring from eggs? Aren't they?
Maybe.
Aren't they like salamanders? Where like Papa Yoda like comes and just sort of like pees on the eggs, and baby Yodas come out. You know, like
I'm not an expert in Star Wars canon, but I don't know if we've learned the reproductive methods of Yoda's race.
No,
so
and honestly,
it might be egg peeing for all we know.
Yeah, I thought they were. I don't know
the name of Yoda's race.
I don't think we do.
No, it's never been revealed. And honestly, I can't, as a parent, I can't even imagine taking care of a baby for 50 years.
50 years. I mean, they live 1,000, so that's like 3 years for them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe maybe it doesn't seem that long. Or they're terrible parents. Maybe they're all just deadbeat dads, you know? Like,
50 years.
It's like the NBA in the 80s.
Yoda,
they just make a bunch of kids and go play basketball.
They revealed in The Mandalorian that Baby Yoda was at the Jedi Temple, right? So, like, he was just kicking it with the other Jedi and the Padawans. The youngest, I mean.
They sent him to boarding school.
There you go.
So somebody at the Jedi Temple, it was their job to babysit Baby Yoda.
It was the guy who played.
and then I bet they heard.
Everybody just keeps graduating, and Baby Yoda's just sitting in the back of the class, like, what the shit?
Incontinent, crapping his pants because he's a baby. And then that caretaker heard execute order 66 over the intercom. I was like, thank God. Thank God my curse has been lifted.
Walk out of here.
It's just like New Mutants.
The one Jedi, glad for it to all be over.
Just like the New Mutants. They're never going to graduate. Sorry, Baby Yoda. That's how it goes, baby. All right, it's noon. I got to get out of here. I got a hungry wife I got to feed. Good gang hang today. That was fun. I missed you guys last week.
Yeah.
Good to have everybody back. We will have a new comic show this week. Promise. Okay. We just had too much fun doing the Batman thing, so we had to do it. That was going to be extra.
We sat down to do the extra, and we ended up talking for over an hour.
Yeah.
About that 4-issue Ra's al Ghul story.
It's that damn good.
So yeah,
it is that damn good. And the most homoerotic Batman experience you will ever have. Shirtless Batman with the cowl on. Look. I don't know if I'm straight anymore.
You want to talk about characters that are gay coded? You haven't seen Batman.
I don't know if I'm straight anymore.
Is that oversized issue that came out?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Frank. It was the series. It was a limited collector's edition 51, which reprinted single issues of Batman. And then the facsimile edition of limited collector's edition 51, the tabloid, came out this past Wednesday.
There it is.
Well, I'm going to pick that up.
Shirtless Bruce. Shirtless Bruce in the cowl made me bisexual. We'll be back
next week. Our comic pusher segment, John, tell Hugo, we're doing Spectre recommendations.
Yeah.
And so that's a character we don't hardly ever talk about on the show. So I'm excited about it.
Joe's going to tell me this one because I've read very few Spectre books.
Matt doesn't know shit about the Spectre.
I really
so this
don't.
One's all on me.
I really don't. I know more about when Hal Jordan became the Spectre than the actual Spectre, if that tells you anything.
There's going to be some of that in there. Don't worry about it.
I did not like that.
I'm going to make sure we get some Hal Jordan Spectre time in there.
Did not like that. I'll give them they're both green, but that's a hell of a coincidence, you know? All right, we got to get out of here. For now, Two-Headed Nerd.
All right, guys.
Signing off.